For the March 2026 Pixel drop, Google finally brought a native desktop mode to its line of smartphones. This allows you to plug your phone into a monitor, and instead of just mirroring your phone's display, it presents Android in a typical desktop layout. Interestingly, despite how many Pixel fans have wanted this feature, Google didn't make much of a big deal out of the rollout. If you go to the March 2026 Pixel drop announcement page, there's no mention of desktop mode at all. Well, now that I've used the Pixel desktop mode and compared it to Samsung's DeX, I think I know why Google isn't hyping this up too much. So, although Samsung DeX and Pixel's desktop mode might seem like the same thing but with different branding, they are actually very, very different. Sure, they both allow you to turn your phone experience into a computer experience, but the way Google has decided to approach it is way off from how Samsung does. The core difference between the two is that when you launch DeX, Samsung's One UI software creates a new desktop layer on top of Android, while Pixel's desktop mode just rearranges Android to make it look better on a larger screen. Samsung's method allows you to completely separate your desktop experience from your phone experience, while Google's does not. This makes a huge difference across pretty much every aspect of your experience using either DeX or Pixel's desktop mode. But I'll dive more into that in a bit. To start, let me focus on what's the same for each option. Whether you're using a Galaxy phone or a Pixel phone, when you plug your phone into a monitor of some kind, you'll get the option to launch the desktop mode. When you launch it, what you'll see looks pretty similar to one another and will be immediately familiar to anyone who's used the Windows operating system. There's a taskbar down here with some icons on it and a quick shortcut to your app drawer. The Android control buttons are here too, with Samsung putting them on the left and Google on the right. There's also a way to access your notifications and quick controls. Samsung puts them down here and Google puts them up here. When you launch an app, you get the exact same version of that app that you use when you're just using your phone. This is awesome because with a traditional laptop or desktop, I'd likely be using the Windows or Mac OS version of an app on my computer and the Android version on my phone. But with this setup, I'm using the same exact app across both formats. Just like on traditional desktops, I can launch my apps in Windows. I can resize the windows, snap them to either side of the display, or go full screen to really immerse myself in one program. Granted, some of your app experiences will be confusing because those apps will think you're using a phone. Even Google is guilty of this. This is what the Google search results for Android Authority look like in Chrome on DeX. And this is what they look like through Samsung Internet on DeX. This is just one example. I guarantee you that you'll find more app display issues like this with both a Galaxy phone and a Pixel phone. You might be wondering about performance. For this video, I'm using the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL running Android 17 Beta 3, and the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 running Android 16. The Galaxy phone has the Snapdragon 8 Elite in it, so it's going to be a better performer for sure. But I didn't notice any usability issues with either system. If I didn't know any better, I'd say each desktop platform performed the same. Anyway, each system also supports keyboard shortcuts. A simple one is snapping windows to one side of the display, which you can do by holding down the Windows or Command button on your keyboard and then tapping one of the bracket keys. This makes multitasking a snap, literally, on either system. Unfortunately, this is where the commonalities between Galaxy and Pixel diverge. They both do the core stuff you need when it comes to running your phone as if it were a computer, but Samsung zooms way ahead of Google when it comes to real-world usability. So remember how Samsung creates a DeX layer on top of Android? This makes a huge difference right from the start. When you plug your Pixel into a monitor and choose the desktop button, what you see on your monitor is exactly the same as what you see on your phone, just moved around a bit. These four icons are just the ones on my dock. This wallpaper is just the one I'm currently using on my Pixel. Contrast this with when you connect a Galaxy phone through DeX, and you see that the wallpapers aren't the same. These icons down here are not the same as the ones on my dock, and all these icons up here are very different from the ones on my home screen. Samsung's separation of your phone experience and your desktop experience allows you to make each your own without worrying that you'll negatively affect the other. I can change the wallpaper here and add a bunch of widgets to the desktop, or change around the icons that appear on the taskbar. With Pixel's desktop mode, everything here is directly pulled from my phone, so if I change it in one place, I must also change it in the other. Speaking of icons, Why doesn't the Pixel desktop have any on it? Well, that's because it doesn't support them. This is just a wallpaper, not a real desktop. It's essentially useless empty space. I mean, come on, Google. Putting things onto a desktop is a fundamental aspect to any computer operating system. This is basic stuff, and you're missing it. Unfortunately, things don't get much better from here. Since DeX is a One UI layer on top of Android, Samsung provides a special page of settings just for it. On this connected display page, I can change the desktop wallpaper without affecting the wallpaper on my phone. I can change the font size, screen zoom, the display resolution, and how long to wait before the screen times out, all of which are completely independent of the same settings on the phone itself. Pixel's desktop mode is missing almost all of these. If I change the font size in Android settings, that will also change the font size when I'm using my phone on its own. In fact, any settings I change at all will also change them on my phone, including the screen timeout. This one is especially frustrating because I might want a 1-minute timeout on my phone, but a 10-minute timeout on my desktop. But I would need to choose one that goes across both formats. So all of this is bad enough, but I haven't even gotten to the two worst things yet. One of the coolest ways to use Samsung's DeX is with this, which is a Next dock. This looks like a laptop, but there's no processor inside. No RAM, no storage, nothing. Just a display, a keyboard, a trackpad, and a battery. The whole point of this is to act as a way for you to easily use your phone as a computer on the go. You might say, well, isn't that the same as buying a laptop? But the difference is that I'll probably need to upgrade a laptop, but I would basically never need to upgrade this. This is a buy once, use forever tech product, which you don't see much these days. Anyway, like most laptops today, this Next dock has a 16:10 display aspect ratio. With DeX, this works fine because I have multiple display output options, including in 16:9 and 16:10 ratios. With Pixels though, I can only do 16:9, which looks really bad on the Next dock. This really blows my mind because Google took the time to add all these different resolution options here, but didn't think that anyone would be using a 16:10 display, which is quickly becoming the default aspect ratio for computers and laptops. So yeah, if you have a 16:10 monitor of any kind, using a Pixel with it is going to be a really poor quality experience. But the absolute worst thing about Pixel desktop mode that makes Samsung's DeX the undisputed champ between them is this. Yes, you're seeing that right. When you are in desktop mode on a Pixel, the phone's display must be on the entire time. That is not the case when using DeX. You can feel free to shut your phone screen off while you work in desktop mode, which is how it should be, of course. Honestly, I don't know how Google shipped this desktop mode as a new Pixel feature with this limitation. In what universe would it make sense to have your phone's display on at all times while you use a completely different screen attached to it? It makes no sense to me at all. I will admit that I'm being very hard on Google here. After all, the Pixel desktop mode came out just a few weeks ago, and Samsung's DeX has been around for nearly a decade. Of course Samsung's system will be more refined and usable. But Google doesn't get a pass here because we know there's an Android desktop system right around the corner known as Aluminium OS. Just like the desktop mode available with Pixels now, Aluminium OS will be an Android-based desktop operating system. Will it be as lackluster as the Pixel desktop mode? I certainly hope not, but if Google thought this was ready for prime time by pushing it out as an available feature to all modern Pixels, then I don't know what to expect from Aluminium. I'd like to think that Google has big plans for it and that when it does land, it will be nice and polished, but using the Pixel desktop mode next to Samsung's DeX makes me pretty skeptical. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments. I'm especially excited to hear about what use cases you have for using your phone as a desktop PC, whether with DeX, a Pixel, or any other phone brand. See you all later.